Protection. The necessity of certainty. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I share with you information about my kind, narcissists and psychopaths, and the way that we look at you, our victims, invariably individuals who are empathic in nature. And I provide you with this information, of course, for a variety of reasons, chief of which is the extension of my legacy. Because I know myself so well, hence I'm the ultra, and I know my kind inside out, I'm able to provide you with information that assists you in helping you protect yourself. It's important for you, as part of protecting yourself, to recognize the necessity of certainty. Your brain is wired to want certainty. An example of this is that it will sometimes play tricks upon you in order to give you certainty as a means to protect yourself. So let us go back tens of thousands of years with regard to the species of Homo sapiens. And there's an individual out there on the grassland, and out of the corner of his eye, he sees a snake. He immediately beats a retreat so that he's not bitten by that snake, because it may well be poisonous and it will kill him. Once at a safe distance, he looks back and he sees that actually it wasn't a snake, but a stick. How odd. He absolutely could swear that he saw a snake. Has he imagined something? Well, in a way, his brain created, in effect, a short hallucination to make him see a snake, so he removed himself without hesitation. Why? Because his brain wants certainty. It doesn't want, what is it? Stick, snake, stick, snake, stick, snake, too late. It actually is a snake. He's been bitten. He's going to die. This particular member of Homo sapiens isn't going to continue being a member of that species. Therefore, the brain evolved for the purposes of creating certainty, even though it didn't actually reflect the reality, to protect that individual, so that he was certain he saw a threat and removed himself from it post-haste. Similarly, if you're being pursued, your vision naturally tunnels. You don't make this happen. You don't think, oh, I will create tunnel vision. But your brain does this, again, in effect, causing a temporary hallucination, so that you become fixed on the certainty of your exit. So that if you're being pursued, for instance, by a lion, you're not distracted by, ooh, look, a new Black & Decker drill or a pair of Louboutin shoes, causing you to halt and thus end up being consumed by the lion. Your brain wants certainty. It wants certainty of direction and exit, and thus it plays another little trick on you, causing your vision to tunnel. Because you've evolved to want certainty, that is why the presence of a narcissist impacts upon you so badly. You want answers. You want to understand. You want the truth. You want to know, why did this happen? All human beings want that, and particularly empathic individuals, because they invariably have stronger truth-seeker traits. They can't just shrug it off and think, oh, well, I don't understand it, so what the heck? Your brain is geared to want certainty, and if it doesn't get it, it really doesn't like it. So, for instance, when you're in an aeroplane or in a car and you become travel sick, you vomit. Why? What purpose does that serve? Why is it that as a consequence of feeling disoriented because of the difference between what your brain is perceiving as the immediate environment around you compared to the travelling environment, why do you vomit or feel nauseous? Again, it's because your brain thinks you're being poisoned. It wants certainty. So it decides that this peculiar sensation that you're experiencing is you being poisoned, and therefore it makes you vomit with the certainty of getting the poison out of your system. Of course, it gets it wrong, because it's actually the fact of the travel sickness that is occurring. So the motion sickness that you experience is where your brain is receiving signals from the motion sensing parts of your body, your eyes, your inner ears and muscles and joints, and they're sending conflicting information. So your brain is confused. It doesn't know if you're stationary or moving, and therefore it translates that into requiring some kind of certainty, namely you're being poisoned, so it causes you to vomit. This is because, for tens of thousands of years, there were no aeroplanes, there were no cars, and therefore such a sensation, feeling queasy, etc., was associated with being poisoned. But now, with the advent only of the last 100 or so years of trains and cars and planes, that your modern self has created this discrepancy in the way that you travel. Whereas for tens of thousands of years, your evolved self has been used to thinking, well, any kind of queasiness or nausea relates to being poisoned, doesn't it? It doesn't, in a way, recognize that it's linked to motion sickness. Again, your brain wants a particular type of certainty. Thus, with the narcissist, because you don't understand what you're dealing with, because at first you don't realize you're dealing with a narcissist, you don't understand why this person's behaving in the way that they do, it affects you so badly, because your brain wants that certainty. It can't just dismiss what's going on. And of course, where you're an empathic individual, this is layered with your addiction, which causes you to seek answers by the corruption of your truth-seeking trait, so that you stay invested, trying to find out from this person why they're treating you in the way that they are, talking to other people about it as to try and understand why this is happening, and so on and so forth. In many instances, you are also misled by your emotional thinking into believing, I need to know what the narcissist is going to do next. I need to understand what the enemy, in effect, may well decide to do. Forewarned is forearmed, of course. But the problem you have with that is that whilst, particularly by involving me, you can have a very good idea of what is likely to happen, you're not necessarily going to be party to all of the information about the narcissist, so that there is 100% information which can then be interpreted by me on your behalf. You might only come to me with 50% of the picture. You don't know who the narcissist is dealing with. You don't know what pressures there are in the narcissist fuel matrix. You know some of them, but not all of them. You don't know who the narcissist is necessarily dealing with. You know some of those people, but not all of them. And therefore, you will come to me with a certain amount of information. And based upon that, I can make a reliable prediction, but we're still not party to some information. There is uncertainty. Instead, you'll be far better off seeking out certainty, which is the no-contact regimen, because the certainty that no contact affords is superior to the degree of uncertainty that exists in trying to fathom out what your narcissist is up to. It's fine to interpret what's gone on in the past, because invariably you will have more information about what was going on because you were in a relationship with that individual. But if you've been disengaged from or you've escaped, and you focus on trying to work out what they're doing, not only is this a breach of no contact, although you think that it is a sensible step because you're using flawed logic, but invariably you don't have enough information to get to that absolute point of certainty. Instead, you only have partial information. And what then happens is your brain wants to get that certainty. And there are too many ifs and buts. And that makes you feel unsettled because your brain doesn't like you not having certainty. And that creates anxiety, fear, reluctance, frustration as a means of making you go and get that certainty. But when it comes to dealing with the narcissist, there's no point in doing that. Why? Well, it would mean going and getting more information from and about the narcissist, which is a breach of contact, with all of the problems associated with that, namely, along comes the devil's pitchfork. You need to stay away from the narcissist, not try and get more information from the narcissist. But then you're caught between two difficult points, aren't you? If you're staying away and thinking, well, what's the narcissist going to do next, but I've only got partial information, your brain's saying to you, I don't like this, we haven't got certainty, I'm going to make you feel anxious and fearful. If you go and get that additional information or attempt to do so, you're breaching no contact. And therefore that brings into your realm further problems. So what do? What you do is you seek out that certainty by creating your certainty through the application of no contact. Because if you do that, you know for certain that you've put in place the means of stopping the narcissist getting through. And therefore, there is no uncertainty that can creep in. You know by removing yourself, ensuring you cross the road, not answering the door to the narcissist, you have certainty. You know by changing your telephone number, the narcissist can't ring you and can't text you. You know by removing your social media account or tightening down, the narcissist can't get you on social media. You know that if you refrain from talking about the narcissist with other people, that is going to remove your emotional thinking and reduce it. And thus you have certainty based upon what you do. And because your brain loves certainty, because that's the way that you've evolved, rather than try and create a certainty by knowing what the narcissist will do, you create a certainty by knowing what you will do, namely the imposition of a no-contact regime, which means that properly executed, you won't hear from the narcissist, and if you do, you will just remove yourself from them. Thus, you create certainty, and it is necessary to do this, because not only are you protecting yourself by way of a no-contact regime, you also have the advantage that you're giving the brain the very thing that it has evolved for and craves, certainty. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.